Welcome to StoryLit.Learny. Subscribe now and never miss a story. Today, we're reading Private Investigator B3, a story about stolen research, hidden secrets, and one detective who believes that everyone deserves a second chance. Before we begin, let's meet our characters. Jeremy, a smart private detective that has strong attention to details but is overconfident at times. He's very analytical, but has a caring heart. He would rather help small-time criminals to change than hand them over to the authorities. Jacob, one of Eline's assistants. He's very rash and envious. He has a misplaced sense of superiority and entitlement, even though the people around him work at least as hard as he does. Eline, a scientific researcher who lost her research paper and asks Jeremy for help. She's very strong-willed and an avid reader, and she has a strong sense of morality. She's a bit of a workaholic too. Julie, Eline's other assistant. She's a very cheerful person who looks up to Eline and wants to follow on her footsteps one day. Jeremy sat at the desk in his private investigations office. He hadn't had any cases for a while now, which was good. It meant that things were peaceful, but he was getting bored and wanted something to do. Then suddenly, his phone rang, and he ran to pick it up.
Hello, this is the Private Investigations Office. Jeremy speaking. How can I help you?
Hello, Detective. This is Aline Hooger. I'm a scientist at the Pharmaceutical Research Lab here in town, and I need your help.
Sure, Miss Hooger. How can I be of service?
I believe that my research papers were stolen. I called the police, but they told me that there's no evidence of theft.
And what makes you think that the papers were stolen?
I've been working on this research ever since I was still in college. I'm not clumsy. I'd never forget it somewhere or lose it. It was taken. I'm sure of it. I don't know why.
Okay, Miss Hooger, I'll take the case. Can you come to the office to talk more about what happened?
Yes, sure, Jeremy. How about tomorrow at 10 a.m.?
That sounds great. I'll be waiting for you, Miss Hooger.
The next morning, Eline went to meet the detective in his office. He was surprised when he opened the door. She was much younger than he thought. She had long, straight hair, a warm smile, and determination in her eyes. She sat on the chair across from him and started telling him about what happened. She was working on important new scientific research and had been collecting it on research papers, which she had copies of on her laptop. And now, both of them were gone. There were two people who helped her with the research. The first was her assistant, Jacob Adams. He was 36 years old, and he had been working in the lab long before Eline had started. Eline described him as helpful and energetic. The second was Julie Anderson. She had started helping with the research in the last few months because the other assistant had left. Eline said that she didn't know much about Julie, but she was very spirited
and excited to be part of the team. Eline also explained that both Jacob and Julie had access to the research papers because they were on her desk, but she didn't know how the copies on her laptop disappeared.
The detective then asked her,
"When did you realize that the copies were gone?"
2 days ago. I called the police, but they said they couldn't find anything to prove they were stolen. And now I have one more day before I present my research.
Jeremy asked her if he could talk with both of her assistants to see if he could get any information from them. And then they decided to leave right away and go to the lab.
When Eline and Jeremy arrived, Jeremy saw that the lab was very organized. He also saw that Eline's office was open, so he asked her if she ever locks it. She said that she didn't, because she felt that they were all part of the same team, and so there was no reason to lock it. Jacob wasn't at the lab yet, but Julie was there. She was a very cheerful and lively person. She also believed that the research papers were stolen, but she was sure that Eline would be able to find them. She was trying to find some of the old data in the office to help Eline start a new paper. Eileen introduced Jeremy to Julie in her office and then left them alone. Jeremy asked Julie,
So, since you've been working here for a short time, what do you think of Eileen?
Eileen is amazing. She's a hard worker, very professional, and at the same time friendly. I remember once it was her day off and I was very sick, so she insisted that I rest and she came to work instead of me. I'm very grateful that I'm working with her.
Jeremy wasn't surprised by the answer. Eileen did seem like a very caring person. He then asked Julie about her opinion of Jacob.
And what do you think of Jacob?
Jacob is a great guy, but he usually doesn't talk to me much. He was closer to the old assistant. He has always been pleasant towards me, and he's very good at his job too.
Eileen then came back to the room, and Jeremy asked them both about the old assistant. Julie said that she didn't know anything about him and that she had never met him. But Eileen told him that the old assistant was a good person, but he chose to leave because he wanted to have time to do his own research, and he couldn't do both. Just then, Jacob entered the room, and Eileen introduced him to Jeremy. Jeremy asked him if he could speak to him privately, but Jacob said that he had work to do. Jeremy insisted that it wouldn't take long. When he asked Jacob about his opinion of working with Eileen, he said that it was okay. He also said that he was a little angry that she had lost the research papers because he had worked for years on them. Jeremy then asked him,
Why do you say that she lost them? She said that they were stolen, not lost.
I don't care what she says. She's trying to act like they were stolen because she's too ashamed to admit that she lost them.
You have worked with Elaine for a while. Would you describe her as careless?
No. She was never careless before, and I do respect her, and I also think she's very professional. But the police said that there was no evidence, and that's why I'm angry. I never expected something like this from Elaine.
How long have you been working here, Jacob?
I've been working here for 8 years.
Do you know anything about the old assistant?
yes, he's an old friend, but he left to focus on his own research.
The next day, after Jeremy had talked to the old assistant and to Eileen one more time, he went to meet Jacob at his home. He knocked on the door, and Jacob was surprised to see him. When Jacob invited him inside, he saw that his house was very messy, unlike the lab. Jeremy suddenly asked Jacob,
Why did you steal the research papers?
What do you mean? How can you say something like that?
I know you stole them. I checked with the lab manager, and on the day the papers were stolen, you were working late. Also, I checked Aileen's laptop. There was a virus on it, and since she never used her laptop at home, the only time anyone could access it would be in the lab.
I didn't do anything. And that doesn't prove that I took them.
Yes, it does. Especially as you told the manager 2 days ago that you suddenly had a new idea for some research. So, now you have two options. Either confess that you stole the research, or keep it and use it for yourself. But beware. When you decide to present your research, I'll be there. I'll tell everyone that your research is stolen, and that it matches the research stolen from Aileen. That will be more than enough evidence to ruin your name.
It's my work, not Aileen's. I've had the same idea for years. It should be my name on the paper, not hers.
No, Jacob. She worked for it. You didn't. She spent years working on it. You spent years thinking about it. It's her paper. Look, Jacob, you still have time to do the right thing. Send the research to Aileen and let her finish her work. It's never too late to change. And it's never too late for another chance. And when you do it, it'll feel better than putting your name on something that you know isn't yours.
That's when Jacob sat down and started crying.
I didn't want to hurt her. I just wanted the chance to have my name on something.
Jeremy told him that he wouldn't call the police, and he wouldn't tell Eileen. He would give him the chance to change and fix his mistakes. A couple of hours later, Eileen had her research back, and after she had finished her presentation, she thanked her assistants, Julie and Jacob, and said,
I couldn't have done it without your help.
Jeremy sat in the back clapping for her, along with everyone else in the room.